Shavua Tov Mavrach. This is Rabbi Kovacs, and Mishnah Yomi is learning in the 4th chapter, Perek Revi'i of Beitzah, and we are at Mishnah Vav. Rabbi Eliezer Omer. Rabbi Eliezer says, Notel Adam Kisam, you can take a splinter, Mishalifanav, from in front of you. Now, we mean in someone's hatzer, in his own yard, or within his own house. Lachatzot Spo Shinav, for the purpose of being a toothpick. Umegabev min chatzer umadlik, and he can go out to his yard, his own chatzer, and grab the little twigs and the little little tiny pieces, scraps of wood that you can use to start your fires. Shekoma shebechatzer muchanhu. Anything in your chatzer is considered muchan. The idea behind Rabbi Eliezer's opinion is the stuff in your backyard, in your fence, you consider it yours, even though it might be a little block of wood or a little piece of wood outside, some straw you have in the backyard. It's kind of, you have in mind that you use that on a regular basis. You could go ahead and use it also on Yom Tov. The Chochamim Omrim, the other sages disagree. They say, Megabev, Mishalafanov, Umodlik. They say you could only gather what's in front of you already in your house. So if you already had some twigs and kindling and scraps inside your house, you could use that to help light your fire for Ochel Nefesh, for Yom Tov eating, but you can't go out to the yard and get new wood. Now, Mishnah Zayin mentions, teaches a concept we've mentioned, that we don't light a new fire on Yom Tov. Ein motziin et or, we do not bring out a fire, like hamotzi lechem, we also motzi or, we do not motzi or, lo mina etzim, not from wood, as in rubbing sticks together to make friction and heat, lo mina avanim, not from rocks, like sparking certain rocks together, like flint and steel, lo mina afar, afar would be like digging into certain kinds of dirt, could make sparks and light things up, lo mina mayim, and not from water. Now water you could actually put in a certain kind of kli, and then put it in the sunlight at a certain angle, and it will make a lens, like a Fresnel lens, to focus the sun's heat and start something on fire. Now, we don't light up a new fire, even for Ochel Nefesh, because it's basically an act of creating something new that wasn't there before, which is considered a melacha. The idea being you can have your Yom Tov candles and your flame and your yahrzeit candle or your oven already lit, Erev Yom Tov, and you can use that existing flame to light new lamps or fires for cooking. And the Mishnah teaches, Ve'ein milobnin et ra'afim litzlot behen. We do not whiten up, like heat up till they're white hot, these tiles. These are new earthenware tiles to roast on them. So if you put a tile into the tanor, it gets very, very hot, and you can put something on it, put an egg on it, for instance, and roast it up. So don't do this because you're actually fixing the tile. When the tiles are new, they need to be strengthened by the heat, like we put ceramics into a kiln to fire them up, to dry them out, and make them stronger. So even though this particular activity is really for Ochel Nefesh, but it also has the consequence of Tikkun Mana, of making a kli, or Makeh B'Patish we might call it, making this kli finished. Now the Mishnah goes back to the subject of Mishnah Vav, about Rabbi Eliezer being makel about things you've set aside in your own yard. The Od Amar Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer also adds, Omed Adam ala muktzeh. A man can stand next to his muktzeh. Now this is muktzeh in the sense of the area in your chatzer which is set aside. Like it's the corner of your yard, or sometimes it'd be the corner of the roof where you'd put your figs or your grapes that are left there to dry out. The ones you're not eating chai, you're not eating them raw when they're first picked, you're waiting for them to dry out, and then you'll eat them once they're dried. So in the middle, when they're sort of half-dried, they're muktzeh. They're not really prepared for eating. However, if a person really has a taiva for grapes, he might eat them, for raisins rather, he might eat them when they're halfway between grapes, halfway between raisins. But in order to make them muchan, since they're muktzeh, they're set aside right now to dry out, he would have to go and do some sort of activity, some sort of designation to show he's going to eat these tomorrow on Yom Tov. So Be'ez is saying, Omed Adam ala muktzeh Erev Shabbat B'Shvit. He's doing this Friday afternoon during a sabbatical year. Now, since they're a Shvi'it, they're a sabbatical year, were taken from Hefker, and they're not chayav in Maser, so he doesn't have to separate that. So he says, V'omer, and what does he do? He says, Omer mikan ani ochel machar. I will eat from this muktzeh tomorrow. So he's going to eat some of these fruits, these partially dried fruits, even if he doesn't designate specific ones. They are muchan enough to eat them tomorrow on Shabbat. V'chochamim omrim, the sages disagree. They say, ad sheyirsham, he has to make a mark. V'omer mikan ve'ad kan. It's from here to there I'm going to eat. I'll eat this one section, this one area of half-dried raisins. That's what I'm going to do. So they require a higher degree of specificity to remove these from the category of muktzeh into the category of mukhan to eat them on Shabbat. Yashar kochachem, Shavua tov.